great feeling, and I certainly hope that we will go beyond 10 or at least 20 people for today. All right, since DH is not speaking currently, hey everybody. This is another Ask Me Anything session here on Pirates Ahoy Discord server. I suppose we shall give another 5 or 10 minutes for people to gather up, and then we'll begin. In the meantime, please don't hesitate to ask questions in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer any question you have. No, DH, I don't hear you, and neither the others. Probably something with your mic.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep, can hear you perfectly.
Okay, so now it works?
Yep, it does.
Excellent.
By the way, what is the average audience for this type of thing on your server?
I would say it quite depends, to be honest. There were podcasts with a niche audience of 11 to 15 people, but then we also had podcasts with, I think the most was 40 to 50 people.
Yeah, I think last time we had around 30 or something like that.
Correct. But that was, late in the evening or at night. So I'm hoping that we can at least get around this same audience again, maybe even surpass it a little bit.
Yeah, the last one was, I think it was 2 a.m. for me.
Yeah, exactly.
This one is more forgiving and generous, so thank you for the time slot. At least I can
Thank
sleep
you for
tonight.
attending.
No problem at all. I suppose tonight we'll get more people from Europe rather than the US. It's still pretty early for them.
Yeah, correct. I mean, for us it's 6 p.m. now in Central Europe, so that should be fine.
Yeah, that's 11 p.m. for me. I gotta say, I live in the most terrible and horrific time zone. It's never comfortable for anybody. So sorry about that. Right, guys, if you have any questions, just shoot them in the chat, or if you want, just raise a hand. We will invite you to this tribune. 13 people so far. Let's get to 20.
Hopefully we can manage that. I'm going to put another message in the announcement chat.
Gotta say, DH, I really appreciate what you're doing for the Sea Dogs community and for this server. I mean, the activities are off the charts. This is really exciting.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, it's sometimes it's quite hard, because there are so many different people with so many different ambitions, let's say, and everybody has a different idea of the future of the Sea Dog series and so on. So sometimes it's hard to bring that under one or to one roof, one similarity. But I'm really happy that we managed to get the community back together at least a little bit, and especially the Western or English community, because that was quite scattered in the past, and I think it's getting better now.
All we need is just one solid release, and that's it. I mean, like, internationally accepted release, something big. And this will get us out of the slumber. You mentioned ambitions, though. What kind of ambitions people from this community have? Just no names, just general stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look at us, for example, here with New Horizons. Hami, for example, has the ambition to port New Horizons to the open source engine, which is a really big project, really difficult. But then again, there's Mirsanelli, who is working on porting New Horizons to Maelstrom, so to the other engine out there, at least in the Western community. And so now we have two whole ports, and we support them similarly or parallelly, which is kind of fun because, for example, now that we have launched our new website, you can see that we have on the left side we have Beyond New Horizons on Storm Engine, and then on the right side we have New Horizons on Maelstrom. And so, yeah, this is quite fun in my opinion.
Do you have any plans on monetizing this whole thing?
In terms of money, I don't think so, but putting it on Steam, for example, to gather a broader audience, this is something that we've talked about actually.
Yeah. I mean, we can release a free to play version for you. We can't sell it at least I think we can't because of the copyright stuff. But we can definitely release a free to play version on Steam and boost it. And that way, it will soon reach the Steam main page. The big one.
Yeah.
This is pretty easy to do, and thus we will get the wide audience's attention. Basically, this is the plan we have for the Caribbean Legend. I mean, we talked about it last time, but for those who weren't present at the last podcast, the idea is that we believe, or at least I believe, that there are no any games like this out there in the market, not with that kind of gameplay system. And I just wanted to give the series another chance with the wide audience. And so far, looking at the numbers, we are getting there. At least we're getting a lot of traffic from Steam daily, and it's going to get exponentially bigger in 3 months. So from our side, this is a good chance. And if we succeed, I suppose we could definitely lend a hand to other communities and use the Caribbean Legends Steam page as a stronghold for other projects. That's the plan so far.
Yeah, I mean, this would be really amazing, to be honest, because you can only do so much without putting it on Steam. Steam is still the by far most important platform, I think, for a game to be put on. You can put it on GOG, for example, but even that, there's no real comparison between Steam and GOG in terms of audience.
Yeah, and honestly, GOG is super interested in Sea-Dog series. I mean, they desperately want to get to each his own and Caribbean Legend there, and we are working on this at the moment. But even if we get there, even if they provide us all the marketing support they promise, I mean, I have experience with GOG and the numbers there, and I'm not even talking about the money. I'm talking about the units downloaded. It's just not enough. It's basically hundreds of people, and we need tens of thousands. So it's a nice to have, but it's not a game changer by all means. I think we have a couple of questions in the chat. If you don't mind, DH, I would just dive in and
Yeah,
go on answering them.
I wouldn't mind at all. So I've started the recording as well.
Okay.
I would like to ask you a question first, before we start with the questions in the audience, if you don't
That's your
mind.
privilege. Go on.
Yeah, okay. So my question would be in regards to um, the game actually. So in regards to what maybe if you can tell me a little bit what the development costs are for the game. I know it's quite a difficult topic since it's secret normally, but I'm really curious to see what you've put into this game, also money wise and time wise, and what you are planning now on doing in terms of marketing, for example.
Okay, that's a really great question. Let me just open my Google Sheet with all the numbers so I can be more specific. All right. It's not an NDA stuff. I mean, I have nothing to hide, and people love talking about money and
Oh
stuff
yeah,
like that.
absolutely. I mean, money is one of the most important things in one's life, so I guess it's no surprise
Absolutely,
that people are curious.
absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. All right. So let's rewind a bit. So if we are talking about Caribbean Legend, then I suggest we just focus on that one. The development started in 2020, I think, in spring. And since then, we spent, me and my partner, Michael, we spent, I think, around $4,000 on new voiceovers, new music, the trailer and the voiceovers for that one. And that was the initial costs. Then we spent, I think, $1,000 more dollars on more music, which is what we're doing right now. Another item is the key art for Steam. We are currently negotiating with a few quite talented artists, and it will take another $1,500 from our bank to finish that. The programmer support, we pay we pay certain talents to help us with coding, such as coding quests, some visual tweaks, DRM, and so on. This will take another $2,000, I think. The next one is new sounds. So the new sounds, by sounds I mean like sounds of gunfire or explosions, etc. This one is to be estimated yet, but I think it will take another $1,000 from us in the coming weeks. The next big thing is animations. We are currently paying for several new animations for certain combat effects and combat scenes. It's not much. I think a couple of $100. So that's a minor one. The translations, I will talk about translations later in this podcast, but I'm doing them myself, and I will just be editing the English translation, the original one, and doing the new stuff all by myself. So this is just my time. Another item I think is Steam stuff. So in order to launch a new Steam page, in order to launch another Steam page, which I'm not ready to talk about just yet, but you will see it in a month. It was another couple of $100s. The legal work, like lawyers setting up a company outside Russia, I think it costed us another several $1,000s. I'm not just sure about the number. We also paid for a couple of new models and interior and exterior locations, and it was another $1,000, I think. So the next one is the marketing. You were asking about how we're planning to market this game, and this one is super costly, and this is the reason why we launched crowdfunding a couple of months ago. We have several items there, and the cheapest one is the running A/B tests. A/B test is basically testing different store descriptions, different screenshots in order to understand what kind of message provides more clicks on Facebook, Twitter, or Reddit ads. And that will cost another $1,000, I think. For certain stuff which I'm not ready to discuss just yet, we will be paying $2,500, and that sum will be paid in February, just a couple of days before the game launches. And we also have $5,000 declared to be spent on additional marketing like streamers and so on. So in total, if we talk about numbers that can be easily calculated at this moment, I would say that the total budget of the game is around $15,000. That is super affordable. That's not much for game development. Absolutely, that's super little money for game development. I used to operate budget like hundreds of times bigger in my career, but this one was only possible because a lot of talents and talented people were and are willing to work on the game in the free time for free, hoping to get their royalty share when the game is released. That's basically how we operate. Every active member of the team will get their share. That's just like how we operate. And if we're talking about the man hours put into this thing, I would say my whole life, but that's just preposterous. So let's for my I'm ready to attempt to calculate man hours spent on this game only for myself, but I'd say that's a couple of man years, because the pre-production started long ago, and I managed a lot of stuff like marketing, legal, game design, and management, and so on. So yeah, for me, it is a gigantic thing, and I'm currently working on the game full time. I quit my job, and it's just Caribbean Legend for me. But I think I'm the only guy in this community who is working on the Sea Dogs game full time. Maybe I'm wrong, but I suppose that I am. Of course, I'm not. Of course, there's also a Corsair's Legacy, and these guys, they're also working full time. But when it comes to Sea Dogs, I suppose that's just me.
So this is actually really interesting. I didn't know that you had such a model that you pay out royalties once the game is going to be released. How did you come up with that?
Well, that's a pirate ship. Everybody gets a share, and it's basically it's determined by how much effort an individual put into the game, whether they're active members of Black Mars Studio or they're just partially involved. But we don't have many people, so it's a fairly simple calculations. And and that's, I suppose that's the only way to operate. I mean, I couldn't ask people to tear their ass for years and just give them Steam keys or something. So yeah. And in regards to those money, until we got crowdfunding, me and my partner Michael, we invested our own money into that game, and that started long before Caribbean Legend was launched. We worked, I think, for free and invested since, well, Michael started this 12 years ago, and I actively joined, I think, 8 years ago. So yeah, that's a life project, and it means a lot to me, to Michael, and hopefully to other team members. But you should ask them.
So, how did you actually manage to get a hold of the Storm Engine games? Because I figure Akella was once the copyright owner. How did you manage to get it to your hands?
Well, that was a special operation which we which we executed. And the thing is, there is no legal entity. There was no legal entity before. It was just certain people who held certain rights, not all of them at once. And then we came in and just took them because we were actively selling the game on Steam. So we had every right to do so, and legally speaking, we secured our flanks and backs, and now we own it. The only thing left is to, get other Steam pages, but we're getting there. Even if we won't, it's not a big deal. The Storm Engine, we posted. I don't know the whole story because it kind of happened without my active involvement, but we persuaded certain people from former Cal to allow us to decide what is going to be for the engine, and we got their green light to make it an open source. It's a real shame that this idea didn't get super far, because right now everybody just logged their GitHub and doing their stuff, but the original intent was quite honorable. But again, I'm a wrong guy to ask this. This is just my understanding how things happened, because Michael did this and other guys from our team. But if you're wondering, Storm Engine is an open source one. You can develop games on it. You only need our consent if you want to sell them. So if you want to sell the game on Storm Engine, you just go to us and we will discuss it. And if you are not using any copyright stuff in your game from other games like Naval Action, you can definitely sell it if we approve it. So yeah,
Okay,
thing
so
is
then
with the story behind the Kel is that at a certain point these people just lost any interest and were willing to pass future rights to us while holding the right to sell the previous titles on Steam. That's just it.
okay, so then thank you very much for answering my questions, and I think we can move to the questions in the audience with
Yeah, I just have one very disappointment and hard announcement to make. Unfortunately, I don't think we will be able to provide German, Spanish, and French translation by the release date. After careful evaluation, I just don't think I can handle it because I will be the only guy who will be doing this whole thing. And if we manage it, the translations will be terrible. I mean, in a manner of quality. And I'm not ready to push that on Steam and sell it to people. So the localizations, they will come German, Spanish, and French, but only after we release the game. Then I will have some additional time and probably more help. So we will get there. What I can promise, though, is that we will revamp the English translation of the game, so it will be better. The quality bar will be upped quite a bit. I know that's not super exciting news, but I just wanted to be honest with you guys. If you can't do something properly, just don't do it at all or postpone it. So I'll just do the latter.
You could always ask people on Fiverr to translate the game for you. This is how the guys from Corsair's Legacy are doing it, because they've got 12 translations or localizations, and they are just getting translators from Fiverr. They are not very costly, and the quality is, so what I have seen so far, quite good, at least for German.
Yeah, well, they have very little text in the game, especially compared to us.
Yeah, that's
We
true.
have, I don't know, like several huge tomes, like big books of text. And that text is not simple. At least in Russian, it's a very literate text. And it is hard to translate properly. So we can definitely go to outsource for that. And even if we go to outsource, it will cost a ton. And after we translate it, we will have to test it. There is a certain stage in development which is called LQA, Localization Quality Assurance. And this game takes around 200 hours to be completed. Imagine the tests. If we test each language, and there will be bugs and issues. And beyond that, this is not a Unity game, this is a Storm Engine game, which means that we don't have a sophisticated and modern framework to extract the original text, put it in the Excel sheet, translate it, and then export it back to the game properly. So it's not as simple as for the Corsair's Legacy, which is a shame, really. But you know,
Yeah,
there is a reason
absolutely.
why it took 4 damn years to translate the original game to English. I mean, I was there, and that was a shit show.
Mhm. Yeah, I've seen the localizations for Corsair's Legacy. They have everything, each and every sentence and word in one Excel sheet that can be commented on or can be changed, which makes it really easy if you just get this one Excel sheet right, and then you can get it in the game working with a proper framework. That definitely
I
makes translations easier.
I have a funny story to share, so an anecdote of sorts. So when To Each His Own was translated, I mean, we had all the sheets with all the English text, and that wasn't a good text. It still isn't, but we got it. I mean, we had this huge sheets. I don't know, maybe around 50,000 strings of text. I mean, wow, that's a lot. And we had to put it back into the code manually. So Michael said, "Hey, so you fuckers, you didn't do a thing for the past year. Let's give you a test. If you want to partake in the royalty shares after we release the English version and all the future DLCs, you have to split this massive Excel sheet in 6, I think, and in 2 weeks you have to put your part into the code." And they did. But as far as I understand, it took like a lot of overtime, and even then, it wasn't a perfect export. I mean, the game got broken at certain points of the story, but still, imagine that. That is a lot of unnecessary and cruel manual labor. And with the Caribbean Legend, that's gonna be another, I think, 10,000 strings. So yeah, that's just I'm simply not ready to do that again. I'm still had a brain trauma from the last time.
Okay, so shall we dive into the questions from the audience now?
Yep.
Okay. Then Dorst is asking the first questions, or the first question. I'm wondering why you took the decision of making red immunity when playing as the accountant. So this is already for Caribbean Legend. since you mentioned that there will be red immunity or full red immunity when you play as the accountant. I feel like this is too much, and when I played as the accountant in Tejo, reds weren't really an issue since they spoiled less goods either way. So why did you choose to make reds immunity on the accountant? I'm not going to read the one spoiler here because I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm going to leave it at this.
Yeah. All right. So the accountant class, by the way, will have a new name in the Caribbean legend. That's just my personal kink. I wanted to create a starter character that really stands out of the crowd. I wanted to have a very new gameplay where you can dodge guards when you're stealthing, where you can trade a lot, where you can have special dialogue options. And with accountant, you can, you get a lot of treasure map sellers in taverns, and you are immune from reds. And I think this is a perfect class for a beginner. The idea was to make a tutorial kind of character, which has very little problems with a lot of irritating mechanics from the original game. If you are playing the game for the first time, and God forbid you've never played the previous Sea Dogs game, you want something smooth, like you don't want to worry about secondary gameplay mechanics. You won't pay a lot to your crew because you're good in commerce. You won't have a lot of troubles with guards when you are, entering a hostile city. So you won't have save load a lot. And rats, yeah, this can be irritating for some people. The opposite problem is that if you are an experienced player and you love the accountant in the previous game, you might feel, a certain drop in a difficulty curve, but it'd still be fun. And since we buffed other classes, I think it makes a pretty good balance. But again, you will never know. You will never know until you launch the game. And the development doesn't end with the launch of the game. If we see, we will read all the feedback, and if we see that accountant is just way too easy, or what's worse, not fun, we will definitely tweak it at a certain extent. And another thing which might be beneficial for new players, accountant starts with more money and gems, so that's an entry class.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Then Lucas SZC asks, is Caribbean Legend considered a remastered or more complete version of Tejo, or could it be seen as a product that has the necessary difference to see it as a different game?
Well, it started at first we started developing to each his own Legendary Edition, and there is still a Steam page which is abandoned now. And it wasn't a remake back then. We planned to give it a very modest price, and it was just a big fat patch with some story additions and balancing and quality of life features. Eventually, for better or worse, we gained 2 more years of development during which more talented people joined, and each of them had something to bring to the table, like new interface or updated graphics or new models. And at some point, the game just grown to be considered. I wouldn't call it a remake. Still, I think it's just it's not that big of changes to be called a remake, but it's a good remaster, and it definitely feels like a new game. So I think it's definitely worth a new Steam page. And besides, our goal here is to try to give the Sea Dogs series and the Storm engine and to each his own a second chance, which is impossible without a new Steam page. If we released it as a DLC, that would be just a fracture of of sales and of new audiences. So I think, I will be replaying the game like it's a new one, and I suppose a lot of people will feel that way. But I understand the question. It might, it might seem unclear to some people.
When the game will come out, I will have waited 3 years to play the game again because I decided not to start another round just before the patch 1.7.3 came around. So I stuck with 1.7.0, and then I thought, okay, Legendary Edition is going to come out soon, and then I didn't bother playing another game, and so now it's been 3 years, and I cannot wait to finally play the game once more.
Well, this is the way. I mean, I totally get it, and in fact, I envy you because I wish I didn't have to, but I have to play Caribbean Legend daily. Well, because I develop it, but still, I'm going to replay it as a normal player when it releases.
So Alexito Pop asks, will there be any graphical improvement compared to Tejo?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Stuff like new weather, new sea, uplifted textures, especially the bad ones. New effects like like new lightning model, some tweaks there and there, dynamic lightning and fogs and so on. So yeah, that's definitely this version is much better looking. And when I launched the original Tejo, I just couldn't, I just can't play it anymore because it's terrible now.
Do you think you will ever be able to get DirectX 11 or 12 working on Storm Engine?
Well, I know that a certain team within the Russian modding community is very busy working on stuff like, normal maps and updated lightning. And that will bring the game very close to DirectX 11. And I've seen some, early development screenshots, and it's very exciting. So yeah, I suppose Storm Engine will make another big step in terms of graphics. Still, if this release goes down as we plan it goes down, well, I will just jump to Unreal Engine and be done with it because it is absolutely impossible to create a Storm Engine game from scratch. I mean, we simply don't have enough human resource anywhere to support a full-scale development on Storm Engine. But it will be graphically improved. I'm certain of that.
Is it so much easier to go to Unreal Engine and create a whole game from scratch in comparison to Storm Engine or Unity, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a marketplace for assets. There are a lot of talent who you can hire and receive a predicted result and measured result. It is a very simple engine which I know how to use, and even now I prototype a bit. So yeah, it is a perfect choice. But again, game engines are like hammers, just different sizes and different helms and pommels. If you are comfortable with a certain hammer, there is no reason why you should change it for something which is more fancy or modern. If you are comfortable with your instrument, you just keep using that instrument. I myself is more comfortable with Unreal Engine. I know how to make games on Unreal Engine or on Unity. It doesn't really matter in the end. I don't know how to make games on Storm Engine because I'm not a Storm Engine engineer. I'm not a Storm Engine developer. I'm a game designer and a producer. So if I am to make another Sea Dogs game, that will definitely not be Storm Engine for business and production reasons. But hey, that's just me.
But you would stay with the genre of pirates and sea dogs.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's a well, that's an optimal way of business since we already have the audience. Why would I trade it for new audience if I already have an existing player base and I would just be able to, to prototype and test ideas with them instead of jumping into the genre or setting which I don't understand or don't like. And so yeah, that would be about pirates and about Sea Dogs mechanics.
Okay, sounds good. I'm curious to see what you will bring as releases in the next few years. I think you might also release a DLC someday with another character. Am I right in that?
Yeah, that's the plan, although I will not actively partake in that development. I'm burned out
Yeah.
of the Storm engine and this game, so I will just free the way for other talented people and let them do as they see fit. And I'm certain it will, they will make a better DLC than I.
Okay, then the next question is from Dobro. Is somebody helping you in development from Pirates Ahoy, or at least planning to get some help from them? I mean, this is kind of a question also in regards to me. So we are not helping you actively, Joruba, with resources, at least not manpower, but we do support you financially.
Yep, that is correct. And well, I know that if we face some sort of a storm engine issue, like something we want to do but we don't know how to do, we always can just approach other communities and ask them to help. But yeah, what's the H stat? And
Okay,
thanks
then.
again. Your support is super invaluable for us and for the series.
Yeah, sure. No worries. The next tranche is going to be coming around soon.
Oh yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay, next question. Alexi the Pop asks, will it be possible to conquer cities for us again?
You can't conquer them per se, but you can raid them and get more rewards from raiding them. We will have a. All right, I'm not going to disclose that just yet, but chances are that you will be able to conquer cities. But that's a different story. It's a super exciting topic, but I just want to postpone the announcement until later December, I think. And
Okay.
the dungeons with skeletons, they are not going back because that goes against the to each his own lore. We have a lot of skeletons in the game, and we explain why there are so many skeletons in the City of Abandoned Ships and previous titles. But we won't have every dungeon in the game crawling with skeletons. You're gonna die, human. And that voice line scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, even though I didn't understand the word.
Okay, so the next question is from Dobro. Have you found a 3D modeler?
Yes and no. Uh, we we managed to well we managed to secure a production line for new items like weapons or handguns or muskets. We are also working on a couple of new locations, like jungle locations, but these are tricky because the talent we found is not super, I don't know. Well, he's not very good with Storm Engine, so we're still debating whether we should continue. For ships, it's a dead end. I mean, we could we could probably buy ships, some pre-made ships which are available for purchase. But the problem is they all look very different for the models we have in the game, and they will look alien, and that won't do any good for the game. Ships are nice, but making new ships for Storm Engine is tricky, and we just don't have that talent with us yet. I think if the Caribbean Legend goes well, I think we could just look for a certain person and hire them to do that kind of work for us on a regular basis. But let's talk about it post-release.
Lucas SCZ asks, what would you say is the biggest change or greatest addition compared to Theo?
Whoa. Let's see. From the visual side, that's the new interface, because it really makes the game feel different and more welcoming, I suppose, more adjusted for a player. From gameplay stance, I'd say the biggest change is the sum of a myriad of little changes in balance or crafting or certain mechanics, which make each of them are pretty small, but when they're combined, they make gameplay very different. From the story perspective, new quests are bigger than the previous ones. They have more dialogues, more role playing, and they have certain things which were not present in the original game, but with these dialogues, with these story points, the game will be more interactive, I would say. What else? I think that's it. Yeah, that's we don't have a game changer feature in the feature list, but when you combine all these little things we made, including new quests or new models or new interface or new visuals, it feels very different. It feels like a new game, and it feels like a super big change. So, and that perfectly resonates with the way we make this game. At a certain point, a certain talent joins the team, and they bring something with them. A feature or some visual stuff or a story point. And we had a lot of people working in our team previously, and each of them brought something with them, something personal, something different. So yeah, and that's how we made the game. And behind every feature in the feature list, I can see a name of a person who brought that feature with them. But that's a very good question. I mean, I'm totally lost, because yeah, this is something to think about. What is the biggest?
Okay, the next question is, will the option to put ships on automatic trade routes be added?
All right, no, that's very few people trade in this game.
Mhm.
But again, we might consider adding that, but for a certain mode of the game in the future. That reminds me of Port Royal games, which I was crazy about when I was a kid. And the second question is, will the game be in Spanish? Yes, but only after release. Let's just focus on English translation for now.
Dobro asks, what is the state of the game? Did you finish adding new stuff to the game? Is only testing left now?
We have only 4 quests to add, and a lot of small things there and there, nothing major. So I would say we have only small features to complete and to polish, and then yeah, it's just testing, marketing, and fixing English translation. I would say we will be done with all the content by the end of December.
So can I get a copy of the game to play at the end of December in the in the holidays there?
Yeah, you will. That's another big announcement, but you are a Vanguard on our server, so yeah, you will get an early access.
But I think only in January, right? 15th of January or something like that.
Yep, but we might consider moving this date back a bit to cover holidays.
Interesting. Yeah, I can't wait. Okay, next question is, if you make a new game for Unreal Engine or other engine, is there a chance that you could include the previous games of the saga, so like COS or Pirates of the Caribbean or the first Sea Dogs in the new engine?
I suppose the question is, can we remake those games on Unreal? And the answer is, well, yes, we can, but we won't, because that's just too much work, which will probably not be super smart thing to do. And besides, that's just a tremendous amount of work. And sorry.
Doxt asks, will the Pirates stats be changed in Caribbean Legend compared to Tejo? Or will they stay the same?
The pirates.
Yeah, you mean you know the pirate stats, so the
Yeah, the
yeah,
stats.
okay.
Yeah. Uh, well, the preset pirates will remain intact for the build classes of the character. The level cap will remain the same, and I considered rebalancing them, but I just think that it works. It already works, and I just wouldn't want to break it by accidentally changing them. So all in all, the Pirates system will remain the same, and the just let me reread the question. Yeah, the athlete is definitely the strongest class. I would argue, I think the marksman is just as powerful as the athlete. Athlete is just more universal. I suppose you can feel safe with athlete on land, and for the sea mode you have officers. So yeah, probably from that point of view. But marksman has very good perks on land and on sea, so I'd say marksman is the strongest, especially with the new guns and muskets we will be adding in the game. The energy regeneration and high parrot stats make up for the lost levels, in my opinion. Yeah, that's true. But we will rebalance the classes so the so athlete will no longer be the strongest class.
Dan Y asks, have you ever thought about an island where you could be managing everything totally on your own, like choosing your own governor from your own ship and not just a random one generated by the game?
Oh yeah, the big one. I'd say that after we release the game, there is a chance we will have something like this, but I'm not ready to talk about it just yet.
Lucas SZC asks, will there exist the possibility for the community to mod the game, maybe through the Steam Workshop or other third-party sites like ModDB?
Yeah, we will unlock the program folder and the scripts, and we will upload our version of engine to the public. So modding will be a thing for Caribbean Legend. That will happen several months after we release the game. And the Steam Workshop, I aim to support it. That's an excellent instrument. There are a few things, technical things, which I must check first. I don't know how Steam Steam tools will cooperate with Storm Engine in terms of checksums and so on. But we'll see. We will test it. But that's one of the goals we have. Steam Workshop, by the way, is another excellent way to provide more visibility and support for a modding community. That's the first step on getting on Steam. So we are totally going to try that out.
Okay, so I've invited Baste to the speaker stage. Feel free to ask your questions, Baste.
Hi again. I figured it was faster for me to just speak instead of typing my questions. Can you hear me?
All right. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Thank you. About the graphics in Caribbean Legend, I think I read on your Steam page that you have updated the graphics in the latest update to the game. Would that mean that the trailer is not quite representative of the graphics anymore, and the graphics on release of the game will actually be a lot better than what is shown in the trailer?
It won't be much better, but it will be better. And it's very hard to record such things because, dynamic lighting and weather and seawater and fog. This is all that stuff you can see in the game very clearly. But in the trailer, I think we just made a mediocre trailer from a gameplay demonstration standpoint. The reason for that is because I wanted to present the game to a wide audience, and that trailer is dedicated exactly for that. So you just have to play it to see it. I mean, there are a lot of little things there and there and there which make the picture and the immersion better. But from the trailer, the difference is not that obvious. And again, we never focused on highlighting that difference.
Oh, okay. And then about like I have said before, I haven't actually played To Each His Own or any of the other games. Would you say that is there any point, any reason to play To Each His Own before I play Caribbean Legend just to appreciate the differences or anything, or would you say that no, just go to Caribbean Legend right away?
Well, this far, no. I think it's just better to wait for a couple of more months and play it.
Oh, all right. So yeah, I figured that if there would be any way to appreciate some kind of difference or anything, but I understand you when you say just go for Caribbean Legend.
Yep.
All right. All right. And I had some other questions, but other people asked them, so they have already been answered. So thank you.
Thanks.
DH, how do I leave? Oh, wait. I think I see it. I think I see it.
Okay. Okay, so next question is from Doxed again. Do you consider adding a different skin and look for Charles that you can choose in the game? If you do, would you consider it based on character? So athlete, accountant, gymnast, gunner will all have a different look?
That was planned in the original change list, which we never released. Unfortunately, we don't have. Well, we have people who can do that, but they're busy with other stuff like cutscenes and so on. So no, and we had this idea that the model of Charles will be changing throughout the story, like something big happened and say he got a new scar, or he got through a terrible battle and now he's more weathered. He got a bigger beard or bald head or something like this. But I just don't think we can do that before the release. We have to be super careful about features at this point.
Yeah. Okay, next question is, I remember that the first time I played Tejo, I felt a little bit lost when it comes to missions and objectives. I also remember that the wind on the navigation map was a pain in the ass, and I actually lost a lot of missions because of that. Did you guys implement some tutorial like mechanics that weren't in Tejo, and is the wind problem still present in the game as a difficulty setting? I hope you understand what I'm talking about, and nice to hear that it will support mods.
That's a perfectly good question. We managed to fix that problem by making wind more predictable, and also since we have more forgiving timers or no timers at all, like quest timers, if you choose that way, you won't have any timers. You will have a more forgiving wind. The time on the global map will run slower. You will have just much easier time with the game. It will be more forgiving. It is more forgiving to a player at this point. So less save loading constantly, and less oh shit moment like, hey, I have only 2 days left and the wind is opposite. What do I do? So yeah, we try to make this kind of situation happen as less as possible.
By the way, is it still the same in terms of length of a day, or have you changed anything and implemented, for example, the mod that there was that slowed down the time?
I don't know. This is we definitely did something with the way time is run in the game, but I didn't do it, so I've got to check first.
Okay. Okay, then the next question is from Dobro. How are you planning to attract new audiences? I mean, graphics don't look very attractive for younger people and stuff.
Well, this is a funny part about graphics. Graphics is not really important in games, in certain type of games. There are AAA games, and graphics is a world for them. Games like the poor multi-million marketing budget, like super wide audience. For super wide audience, graphics is important. But we don't need super wide audience. We need hardcore audience. And for them, graphic is secondary. I mean, I can name you dozens of super successful games on Steam which have, correlation with our genre or our gameplay mechanics, and they look worse, and all of them were released a year or 2 years ago, and it didn't, hurt them by a lot. By wide audience, I mean wide hardcore audience, wide hardcore RPG audience, and for them, it's just alright. If you are, well, if the game takes you and just drives you with it, at some point you just forget about graphics and just play it. The rest of the work, that's up to your brain, and the brain does excellent work by immersing you into the game. So no, the game looks all right, and it doesn't look like shit, and that's more than enough.
My biggest criticism in regards to graphics of the game would be probably in 3D sailing mode, how the islands look, because they look very chunky a lot of the times.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, I agree with you. The games are still pretty okay, in my opinion.
We did a certain neat trick with islands. We just added a much bigger vegetation range, like
Yeah.
the trick is, if island is covered with trees and stuff, you just don't see how crappy it is underneath.
Yeah.
See what we did there? So
No,
yeah,
that's really brilliant.
we improved that, but the islands are still, they are terrible. I won't argue with that, but at least we just hide them better.
Okay. Next question is, will it be possible to have plantations?
Plantations, like wheat plantations. I suppose the question is, will we be able to own like sugar plantations or coffee plantations?
Yeah.
Sort of. On your very at certain point, Charles, gets a whole island for himself, and you will be able to build certain, let's say, buildings on it. And one of those buildings is not exactly a plantation, but it's definitely a factory. So yeah, more or less. But actually, that would be super fun. I mean, like, imagine sailing to Spanish Main and going through Silver and fighting this plantation, and it is yours. It will bring a great feeling of ownership, of control. Like, all this is mine. All those people are mine, and there is a manager in this hut waiting for me with a report. I mean, this is a great feeling. Something to think about. That's for sure.
Okay, then yeah, okay. Scorpion answered in regards to this plantation question. Is it going to be a plantation of Manga Rosa?
I wish.
Okay, then next question is from Frodo Potter. Can you choose the levels to skip the tutorial? I love this game too. So far, it's still the best pirate game.
You can skip tutorial even in the original Tahoe. Just go to the abbot and skip it. It's super easy. And yeah, so it's very easy, and you will skip the initial Martinique sequence in the story and just get into the sea immediately.
Okay, then Alexi to Bob asks another question. Will it be possible to get known ships such as the HMS Victory or the Constitution, etc.?
No, that's a wrong story. That's wrong history period. First, and second, we just can't add any ships into the game because of the talent limitations.
Okay, and then Gatnast asks about the city we see but never can reach somewhere on Main. Can we access the city in Caribbean Legend? I'm not sure which one he means. Maybe you have an idea?
I think she means San Andreas, the ghost city, which is in the game. It is a Spanish city, but it is not available for Charles. This is a secret operation base for Catalonian guards of Admiral Mendoza Riba, who is one of the main story characters for Diego de Montoya, the other character, which, well, and we will see his story in the DLC, and this is exactly the place where we will visit San Andreas.
Okay, and then Lucas SZC asks, I think this was answered before, but will there be any new missions, both secondary and from the main storyline?
Yeah, one main storyline mission, the Epilogue. Four. Yeah, and four big secondary quests. Two of them are companion quests for Ellen MacArthur and Hercule Tanzak, and also a bunch of small secondary quests and events, like a few dozens, I think.
Okay, then Dovs has a notice or note for you. By the way, HMS Victory, which we get by reading a letter in the main quest and which you can take for yourself, is a ship from 1765. That's 100 years after the game. I believe you are aware of that. I assume it's intentional.
Right. So this one, yeah, this is intentional. And it's just a gag, I suppose. We just wanted to have a big English warship in the game, and we just named it Victory. And it also got a new 3D model in the game, so it will look much better in the Caribbean Legend. So yeah, you can board her, take her, and I don't think you can sail into the English ports on that thing. Still can't. Understandable, of course. But yeah, it's just a big ass English ship, and we just called her Victory. Because why not? I mean,
Okay.
how else you can call a flagship of Great Britain
Yeah.
Victory?
Then Lucas SZC asks, any new islands or cities to explore?
No, no. The global map will remain intact, more or less.
But you have redesigned a couple of cities, I think, right?
We did. Well, not us. A few very talented people from modding community provided us with those models. So yeah, we were able to uplift the looks of certain cities in the game.
Okay. Then Dorst asks, have all manowars been redone since they did look very fat in all the games before?
Yeah, we have redone all the first rank Man of Wars, and the Spanish one is super fat now, maybe excessively fat.
Alexi Depop asks, will there be a famous pirate or famous pirates in the game, or will they all be made up?
All will be made up as they are in the original game.
Okay, then the island of San Andreas, that is mentioned in Teo, will appear in Caribbean Legend.
It will appear in the Caribbean Legends DLC, dedicated to a second main character.
Have you got any idea what the time horizon for that one is?
If the launch goes well, I'd say a year.
Okay. Dobro asks, I know you are planning to make another game on Unity or on Unreal Engine after Caribbean Legend. Do you think Unity or Unreal Engine will ruin the atmosphere of a game? I mean, yeah, it's very modern, but Storm Engine looks so comfy.
That will depend on the art director we will hire. That will be his or her job to preserve and to improve the visual aesthetic from the original Sea Dogs games. So yeah, it will probably look just as comfy as Storm Engine, but much better.
Okay. Then we are just going to wait for Dogs and Gutners who are currently writing. And I think after that, okay. Has the Musket Border and Musket NPC AI been redone?
The animations has been redone,
But
so
not
they
in
will.
terms of AI.
The AI was improved too, but I just not sure to what extent.
Okay. Okay, and then Gardners is still writing. Maybe there's some plot additions that you can share to the large audience.
Plot additions. Well, let's just say that for the epilogue, I don't want to spoil anything, but the epilogue will be about taxes and the big question how to legalize all that enormous amount of money you've plundered. I mean, you can't simply, if you are a pirate baron or if you are a general government of French colonies of New World, or if you have 50 million pesos in your possession, or a personal island, or a fleet of warships, you can't simply sail to Europe, right? Because if you do that, you will be considered as a pirate. But you don't want to be a pirate anymore if you return back to normal life with if you choose to return, especially with your wife there. So the epilogue the first part will be about, finishing all the business, like official business, paying your crew, saying goodbyes, paying taxes, and quitting the job if you have one. So that will be super official and super fun, and it will get super emotional when you get back home, because this is the time where you will get all the letters from people you've met or encountered in the past, and this is where you will get the final closure on Charles de Moor, and you will get an introduction to Diego. Even though you already met Diego in the main plot line, which didn't end well, but you will meet him again, and that will be a good farewell and welcome feeling, I think.
Are you actually going to be able to play something in Europe, or is it just a scripted event or a cutscene?
Well, you will be able to play there for a bit.
Okay. Then,
Right,
Alex,
let's get these questions done and call it a day. Okay.
yes. Alexi Pop asks, will the game have options for single player and co-op play?
Oh, this is a big dream, but not possible. Well, it is possible. We still have multiplayer code, and at some point we actually tried to bring it back to the game. We even had a prototype with multiplayer, but the amount of work required would be it's just not worth it. But it is possible to have a co-op in the game on Storm Engine, and maybe someone will do it one day. Definitely not us.
Okay. Will there be more unique ships in the game? I saw that there was a new one like the El Cazador. Are there more unique ships in addition to that?
Well, El Cazador is the one. Maybe we will see more. That depends how if we will get new models. There are some ways to get new models. If we get them, we will get more ships. But El Cazador is the star of the Caribbean legend.
And the last question is, why do you want to return to Europe in the first place if you are a gigachat in the Caribbean?
Well, because Caribbean is the very small place in a very big world, and it's a shithole. And at some point, I suppose our main character will want to get more of this life. He got everything he could and everything he wanted from the Caribbean, so it's time to pursue new horizons. It's time to settle and conquer Europe. I suppose that's a great next big step in his career if he wants to.
Okay, and with that, I think we have finished all the questions. So thank you very much, Joruba, for once again attending or participating in the podcast with our community. I'm really looking forward to you releasing the game. I cannot wait to play it in the near future, and I finally want to get into the story again because I have waited 3 years now. I'm really just excited to finally be able to play it again.
Thank you. And by the way, the last question about widescreen support, we have the widescreen support.
Okay, then ultra wide too.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye-bye. And have a
Bye.
good one. Yeah.